For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Shannon de Rehove. Creative parenting expert Nikki Bush joins me to discuss child and parent development issues for the wired generation. Welcome, Nikki.
Thanks, Shannon.
Now, your best-selling book, Futureproof Your Child, highlights the critical importance of making choices, having conversations, and consciously connecting with tomorrow's children today. Why is this so important for parents raising the next generation?
It really is important that parents are conscious today, conscious of what they're doing, conscious of the choices they make, the people they connect with, and how they connect with their children. And making choices is very, very important. Now, we're living in an era of information overload, and while that is very freeing, because it gives us this freedom to choose, it actually is stressing parents unbelievably, because there are far more decisions that have to be made every single day by parents than our parents ever had to make. And we wonder where all this pressure comes from, and a lot of it comes from all those choices and being time-starved as well. We often have two-income families. We have many, many single parents bringing up children. Time and attention are in short supply, and that is what we trade with our children. That's what they want from us. And so there is a lot of pressure on parents today to understand what's coming down the line, understand the future world of work and how their children are going to get jobs in that future, and also to parent today. So we have to keep the long-term perspective, but also look at what we need to do today in order to prepare our children for that world while we don't have time and we are in information overload. And so parents are kind of drowning in information, drowning in choices. And what I do, I guess, is I help parents to make sense of a fast-changing world, to make sense of what's happening out there, and help them to make those wise decisions for today.
And I suppose parents also learning themselves about new technology and now have to try and teach their children about that same new technology that they themselves are not comfortable with.
Absolutely. And this is where there's been a shift in power in the world. In previous generations, parents were the be-all and the end-all. They were the absolute authority. And today, our children often know more about the prevailing technology than we do. And so we switch roles with our children. Sometimes we are the teacher, and sometimes they are the teacher and we're the student. And we have to become comfortable with that. Having said that, that doesn't mean you give up your leadership role of the family. And for children to feel secure, especially when everything around them is changing, they need for us to lead. We must be the boss. We must be in the front of the bus, so to speak, because we're going to be helping our children to prepare for that future. They need to see us role modeling what it means to cope with change.
Through your talks, interactive workshops, books and games, you aim to inspire your audiences to find creative ways of connecting with today's children in a fast-paced world. What advice would you give to first-time parents who might be anxious about raising confident children in a fast-changing world?
Very interestingly, Shannon, when I ask parents what they want for their children, what their wishes for their children are, 99.9% say happiness and success. And I think for new parents, I'd like to turn that on its head. I think if we're aiming for happiness and success, we're going to fail badly in preparing our children for a fast-changing future. What we need to be doing, because you cannot make anyone happy and you cannot make anyone successful, we need to be upskilling our children to be resourceful and resilient, because then they can create their own happiness and their own success. And what the future world of work is wanting is that resourcefulness and resilience, because there is so much change afoot that we need children who will be able to adapt and adopt as they go. Information is becoming obsolete by the day, and jobs are changing every day. And our children are going to start jobs and maybe not have that same job within a year of starting a job, because the world is changing so quickly that that job will no longer be needed. So they'll need to adapt as they go along. They'll need to plug in to the system and have a very strong sense of self and a strong inner core to enable them to withstand the winds of change as they come, and to be able to plug into a changing world as it appears.
So you need to teach your children then about how to adapt to all these changes.
Yes, so when we look at Futureproof Your Child, for example, we talk about the 5 key X factors for success in the future world of work. and they go way beyond just grades. So our children need to have the best report card they can possibly get when they're at school. But in addition to that, employers of the future are looking for these 5 key X factors. The first one is creativity and thinking outside of the box. So if our children are going to have to solve problems that aren't yet problems using technology that hasn't yet been invented, we really do need children to think out of the box. Then we have loving learning. If the world is going to change at a pace, and that is what is going to happen, our children are going to have to keep learning, unlearning and relearning for their entire lives, so they better love learning. Then there's resilience. So kids who can deal with the hard knocks of life and who can deal with change. Then we need children who know themselves really well. Because if you know yourself, then you can know and learn about and manage others. Whether that is online or offline, relationships are going to still be the cornerstone for success in the future world of work. And then the final one is to relate to others. So that goes back to teamwork, and your first team is actually family. And family today is where hope lives. Family is the place where values are set. We can no longer look to outside structures and outside sources and people and community organizations and politicians to set the values of society today. It's being done in our homes today, and that makes the role of parenting really very, very important, especially when it comes to technology.
It sounds as if parents themselves need to know all these things in order to teach their children.
They're never going to know everything, but they need to get a handle on these things.
Your seminars focus both on teachers and parents. How do you prepare teachers and educational staff to teach today's children for and about the future?
Well, this is a big challenge today, because the aim of education was really to pass on information to children, and that is no longer necessary because the internet gives children so much access to everything. I mean, you just say to any child, find this, and they just Google it. And that is the bottom line today. So if that is no longer the main role of education, then the way teachers teach has to change. The way we parent has to change. So teachers now have to teach children how to access information, how to manipulate it, and how to use it for something really exciting. And really what the aim of Classroom 3.0, which is the smart classroom of the future, is really to teach in a totally different way. Not to teach old stuff in a new way, but to teach in a totally different way. So teachers have a big challenge on their hands. Schools have a big challenge to morph into what we call School 3.0. And it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of effort and energy. But at the end of the day, what we're saying is, it's not to take the teacher out of the classroom. It's to reinvent teaching. It's to reinvent learning.
And technology has a big part in that.
That's right. And for parents as well, they have to learn how to assimilate technology into family life, but to maintain family in the middle of it all. So keeping the human in the middle really is the role of parents, because you can let technology take over. I mean, just look at how we allow our lives to be dictated by our devices. And if we're going to parent effectively, we really do need to learn how to role model effective use of our own devices in front of our children, and then to teach them to be responsible users of those very sophisticated devices. Because owning a sophisticated device or using one doesn't necessarily make you a responsible user. And therein lies the connection between, or the meeting point between parenting and technology. All those moments where technology and children meet are potential tech-savvy parenting moments where we really do need to take the bull by the horns, jump into the ring with our children, learn about technology, gen ourselves up, become familiar with social networking platforms, with the devices that they're using, because there is no way we have any authority with our children unless we know how to play that game. It doesn't mean you have to be an expert, but it does mean you need to be interested, and that you jump on that bandwagon with your children. Otherwise you won't have any idea of how to keep them safe, or why you even need to keep them safe. And technology brings with it an enormous number of possibilities and opportunities for our children, and it is the operating system of the world today and the world of business today. but it also brings with it potential threats. And our children need for us to help them to learn how to cross that information superhighway safely and wisely, so that they can experience all the greatness that it has to offer, as well as be protected from the dangers.
Now, talking about tech savvy, that's the title of your third book, Tech Savvy Parenting, which is co-authored with Arthur Goldstack. Can you tell us about that?
We're very excited about this book because it's got lots of practical handles for parents. There's very little on the market other than just basic warnings that connects parenting and child development and technology all in one package. And what we've done with the book is we've taken every screen in a child's life, from television to cell phones, to social media, to gaming, which are kind of the big four areas that children get involved in. They're getting involved in technology very young. So from about 6 to 8 months of age, a mother will pass her baby a cell phone so that they can watch a movie and be distracted while they're in the car, for example. And so little ones are learning very quickly how to navigate their parents' devices. And that's because children watch us, and they're very, very observant, and they learn unbelievably quickly. But there is an issue because children can be exposed to many, many inappropriate things online, whether it be content or whether it be people. And we need to help our children to protect themselves from those bad elements that are out there. And this means we need to teach our children self-protection skills. And it starts by building relationships with children from a young age, which links right back into Futureproof Your Child. The best way to future-proof your children, the best way to prepare your children for a technological world and to protect them, the best safety app is actually relationship. And that's the one you can't go and buy on the shelf in the shop. And it requires investment of time, of energy, it requires us being conscious. Children can't be brought up by technology alone. There is a big emotional space in parenting that needs to be filled by real people, preferably parents. What children are most desperate for is a sense of belonging and togetherness in family life, whatever family means to you, whether that's one parent, one child, whether it's a blended family. It doesn't matter what your race, color, gender is anymore when it comes to family life. Family is whatever family is to you, and you have to make it work. And what I always try and encourage parents is to develop a family brand. We live in an environment where there's a lot of interference running between parents and children, a lot of white noise made up by the noise of technology and the clutter of consumerism and branding. And we have to rise above that as parents and be seen as a hero in our children's life stories. And if we position ourselves as a brand of choice, then children will want to connect with us. But we have to be aware of what we're up against, because there is a lot of competition in that parenting space.
Now, you're very passionate about play in raising children, but today's children seem very grown up. Why is play such an important factor for parents to embrace in raising confident children, and how can parents incorporate this important process in raising their children?
I am passionate about play. It is the language of childhood. So I know our children are growing up with digital as one of their primary languages, but play really is their primary language. It's a way you can connect with any child. It's a way you can teach a child anything. It's a way you can build an emotional bridge to a child. It really is one of the most useful parenting tools in the toolbox. And yet, because it takes a little bit of time and effort and energy, parents tend to leave play out of the equation. And they're really creating a difficult situation for themselves, because play opens the door to the child. So play should be used in preschool in a big way. We need play-based programs. In the preschool years and in the baby years, we need more laps and fewer apps. We need for children to have more connection with human beings, with real toys, with real play, in real time, than with on-screen activities. And this is because we are still multisensory human beings. We need to stimulate all our children's senses, sense of taste, touch, smell, balance. There are all sorts of things that go to make up human beings, and stimulation of those senses helps children to map their world. They cannot map their world if they're on a flat screen. they need to be able to mouth things and feel them and move them and shift them and manipulate them and do things with their world for it to have any meaning for them. So play really becomes such an essential building block for all of child development, right through until a child is about 12 years of age. They're in the concrete phase of learning, which means real. Okay, and I know that as children hit the primary school years, they're going to be doing more and more on a screen. But we need to make sure and be conscious as parents that our children have a balanced experience with real life versus on-screen life.
You've mentioned how important play is, but how do parents avoid falling into the trap of being their children's friend?
Really great question, Shannon. There is such a default setting of parents today wanting to be their child's friend, so they become a parent rather than a parent. And it's because they want to keep their children happy. They don't want their children to hate them. Now, the issue is that we need to be preparing our children for a very fast-changing path. And what parents are trying to do is prepare the path for the child instead of preparing the child for the path. And it's so important that we future-proof our children by leading them. Our children will get mad every now and again, but I promise you, they get glad very, very quickly. It's important for children to experience a wide range of emotions in their lives so that they learn how to be emotionally intelligent in their future.
Finally, what can we expect from you in the future?
Big question. Lots of exciting things coming down the line. Obviously, to take some of my key areas of expertise, so Future-Proof Your Child is going to move into looking more at raising entrepreneurs, because that is what the future world of work is going to look like for most of our children. Probably 60 to 70% of them are going to need to create their own jobs at some point in their working lives. So that's a biggie. And then parenting on the run deals with work-life balance. That's a very big topic that's very dear to my heart. I've been involved with helping parents to parent despite their busyness, to connect despite their busyness for a long time now. And I think with more and more women entering the workplace, this is going to become an even bigger area of focus for me. And I'm putting together a lot of online support programs as parents become busier and they can't get to perhaps see me face-to-face or attend a workshop. They need to be able to download resources. So I'm focusing quite a lot on creating downloadable resources for people. So I guess in a nutshell, it is all about leadership. It is all about helping parents, helping educators, helping people in business to prepare the next generation for a very fast-changing world.
Well, I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you, Shannon.
That was author and speaker Nikki Bush talking about creative parenting techniques.